Arsenal's season has not gone to plan by many Arsenal fans, but in my opinion, it's going just fine. That's right, I'm Ty Knight here for TK24 Sports. If you're new to the show, like, subscribe, turn notification on so you don't miss a show every time we upload. Okay, bit controversial what I just said. Arsenal's plan is still going to my expectations, and that to you may be thinking your expectations are low then, Ty, because we are so far off the mark. We are nowhere near Liverpool. We're not going to catch them. We don't have a striker. We now don't have a right winger. We don't have the left winger that we need. We don't have the central midfielder that we need. And that is all a matter of opinion. And everyone's opinion is truly valid to many degrees. But here's my take on it. Arsenal are on track to do exactly what they've done last season. Is that finish second? No, just accumulate the same amount of points as they did last season, be it one or two, either plus or minus. And that will be enough for them to win the Premier League. And you're thinking, Ty, there's no way Liverpool are on form. They've got Mo Salah, they got Van Dijk, they got McAllister, they got Szoboszlai, they got Diaz, they got Gakpo, they got, I won't say Darwin Núñez, but you get my point. And who do Arsenal have? Kai Havertz, Jesus, no longer Saka because he's going to be out for the season. Let's so we can write him off. You got Martinelli, you got Trossard, you got Ødegaard, you got Rice. To many Arsenal fans, it doesn't compare. Arsenal need to go out and get themselves a right winger. They need to go out there and get themselves a striker. That's not going to happen in January. It never does for Arsenal. So Arsenal do what Arsenal do, which is tease with stories. They're prioritizing themselves with going for an attacking player. But that attacking player, whoever they did, if they do eventually go and get it, it's not going to be the attacking player that you may want. Whether it's an Isak or a Gyökeres, a Breno, a Kudus, it's not going to happen in January. It's just not. And even if it was going to be for the summer, that would be a long-waited, drawn-out acquisition to this squad. So what do we do going forward from here? Do we just sit back and say, okay, this is what the club is, this is what they're about, I have to get behind it? Or do we say, this is what the club is, this is what they're about, I'm no longer part of it? And that's the part now when it comes to this part of the season, like it did last season, where, okay, it fell off towards the end against that Aston Villa performance, which is the one performance that stopped Arsenal from winning the league, believe it or not, in the second half of the season. Do we now look at this second half of the season and say, okay, we were here before last year. Arsenal need to go out and sign the players so Arsenal can go forward? Or do we sit back and say they're not going to sign the players and we just have to be disappointed? But the one positive thing going into the second half of the season is that Arsenal are still in full competitions. Semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. FA Cup, of course, hasn't started yet. Champions League, they're virtually securing their right to go into the knockout phases, which eliminates the playoffs, and they're still in for the Premier League. So they're still in shot for four competitions, which it wasn't in last season. And this season, they have grown up much more. The only difference is they haven't scored a plentiful of goals as they did last season, whereas this season, it's just a bit tough. It's a tough watch. But beating Brentford a couple of nights ago, 3-1 away from home, was a telling story. Can they do it without Saka? Just two games, Ipswich and Brentford. You may laugh at Ipswich, you may laugh at the Brentford, but then again, there's teams that's fallen to Ipswich, there's teams that's fallen to Brentford. Arsenal are on the trajectory of doing something spectacular this season. Now, I'm not foolish, I'm not naive, I'm not delusional, and some of you may think that Arsenal, they do need more attacking help. They do, and I know that they do. And who's that going to be? I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because Arteta keeps on changing his style of play. But what I do know is they do need someone who's more clinical in front of goal, who will stay up front and not go into the left back position. They also need a creative midfielder who will shoot, who's activated when it hits 25 yards from goal, who's not always scared to use his right foot and is dependent on his one foot, which is his left foot. Also need a winger who will stay wide and get chalk on the boots, who'll be able to cross the ball in. But the problem is, all things I'm just saying right there, a winger to cross the ball in, but we also need someone who's in the box, who's got aerial presence, who's strong, who can hold up play, and also either knock it down to bring players into play, or be an aerial threat to get the header on target for a potential goal. A attacking midfielder from 25 yards out who's got the green light to shoot, because if you shoot, you get it on target, then a follow-up is a possibility of a goal or creating another chance on goal. Those are the things that Arsenal need to fix. Those are the things that Arteta needs to do. But the problem is, do we trust Arteta to do it, whether it's in January or the summer? So this is the problem. And it's a problem that Arsenal are always going to have. But again, as the fans, we have to sit down and say, what are we willing to accept? What are we willing to take? And if we can't accept it, dare I say it, you may not have to follow Arsenal no more. That's harsh, isn't it? It's harsh. It's like, how can you say that? But it's true. If it does your heart in that much, if it does your head in that much, the way the club operates, sometimes it's better just to walk away and say, I'm done with this. I can't do it no more. It's costing me my time. It's costing me my money. It's costing me my relationships, because all I'm doing is moaning about what my club cannot do. And sometimes you might just have to walk away, or you just say, damn it, that's just my club. I love him. And it is what it is. So what's your thoughts on what I just said? Arsenal are not going to sign anyone in January. They're not. They're going to come out with the usual BS story, which is, we was looking, if the opportunity arises and then presents itself, we will take a look. Not we will activate and go for it. We will take a look. All transfers are going to happen in the summer. They got Ethan Nwaneri now, who's taken over from Saka on the right-hand side, and I think just that game in Brentford shows what he can do and what he's about. I'm not saying he's a starlet player where throughout the rest of the season we don't need anyone else to deputise, because he's still got Sterling there who's going to be recovering from injury. So that's why they're not going out actively to go and buy a right winger right now, because they got Sterling there and they know, what's the point going to buy someone when we've loaned someone? They're not going to do it. So they'll just start Nwaneri over Sterling. In the next game against Brighton, you'll see Nwaneri start again, because Sterling's not going to be there. But bear this in mind, Havertz can play wide right as well. Not just in the centre midfield where Arteta wants to put him, they can play him wide right. Also play him up front if need be. So Arsenal do have options. It's just a rotation at what needs to happen to start showing Arteta can be creative. You don't need to go out and spend another 80 million on a player that's going to take 6 months to embed in the team. And then once he's embedded, oh, guess what? It's going to be next season and we don't see the best of that player. Work with what we've got, which is Ethan Nwaneri. When it comes to the forward line, I get it. Yes, we do need a striker, but that's going to be in the summer. That takes a long pursuit to go and get that player. But I think Arteta knows who he wants as a striker. He would like to have Isaac, but the board may not want to go to 150 million. That's been reported by Newcastle. I think that fee is more of a 130 maximum, in my opinion. Gyökeres is going to be harder to do, in my opinion. Even in the summer, it's going to be harder to do, even though he does have a release clause. But persuading Gyökeres to come back to England and go to the Premier League and play for Arsenal, I think that's going to be harder. I think he may want to go to a Barcelona, but why do you want to go to a Barcelona who can't even register a player? Because you got Dani Olmo, who's now a free transfer. Well, you can get him on loan, but Barcelona can't actually register him at this moment in time. So it seems like I'm going all over the place, and it's pretty much like Arsenal and the transfers. All over the place. In our eyes, in the fans' eyes, but in Arsenal, they've got it prepared. They have got it prepared. They know what they're going to do. They know what their strengths are, their weaknesses are, where they can go when it comes to FFP, because they're nowhere near the FFP. They can go and make a splash if they need to now. But why overpay when you don't need to? So, if it comes to the strikers, who would you like to see? If it was a right winger, who would you like to see? They do need another left winger, and they do need a creative midfielder. And equally on top of that as well, they need another central midfielder. It's a lot of positions to fill. It is a lot. But Arsenal are still on track to do what they've done last season, and that's mount a proper title challenge. And they're there. It's just to others in your eyes, they're not there. They're far behind because Liverpool have done so well. But Arsenal, based on what they done last season, they are there. So, again, if you're new to the show, like, subscribe, turn that notification on so you don't miss a show every time we upload. I'm back again. I had a major health scare, so from October, it was really bad. It was really bad. I'm back now filming. I'm allowed to, which is a good thing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.